In the dim glow of a massive vault room, surrounded by a crowd of skeptical elites and flashing cameras, a young black girl named Aisha stood before the impenetrable safe. Her hands trembled slightly as she touched the cold metal dial, the air thick with tension. The billionaire, Reginald Hargrove, smirked from his velvet chair, his voice booming over the speakers. "Go ahead, little one. You've got minutes before I call this charade off." The world watched live, billions tuned in, mocking the poor kid from the slums who dared to challenge the impossible. And then, with a final twist, the safe clicked open. Gasps echoed through the room. But just as the door swung wide, revealing the glittering $100 million inside, a shadow fell over Aisha's face. Something inside wasn't just money. It was a secret that could change everything. What had she uncovered? Hold on, because this story starts long before that fateful click. Imagine growing up in the dusty streets of a forgotten neighborhood in Detroit, where the only thing more cracked than the sidewalks were the dreams of the people living there. Aisha Thompson was just 12 years old when her world shattered. Her mother, a single parent working 2 jobs as a cleaner and a waitress, collapsed one evening after a grueling shift. "It's just tiredness, baby," she'd say, but Aisha knew better. The diagnosis came like a thief in the night: stage 3 breast cancer. No insurance, no savings, just a mountain of bills that seemed as unbreakable as a fortress. Aisha's father had left years ago, chasing some vague promise of a better life that never materialized, leaving her to fend for herself and her little brother, Jamal, who was only 6. School was Aisha's escape, but even there, the odds were stacked against her. Teachers overlooked her, assuming the quiet girl from the projects couldn't possibly grasp advanced concepts. But Aisha had a gift. A mind like a puzzle solver on steroids. She devoured books from the public library, teaching herself cryptography, math, and logic puzzles. By age 10, she was cracking codes in old spy novels for fun. "Why do you waste time on that nonsense?" her mom would ask, exhausted but proud. "Because one day, Mama, I'm gonna crack the code to a better life for us." Little did she know, that day would come wrapped in mockery and millions. Fast forward to Aisha at 16, now the family's sole breadwinner after her mother's passing. She juggled high school, a part-time job at a local diner, and caring for Jamal, who had started acting out in school. Bills piled up like autumn leaves, and eviction notices became as common as breakfast. One rainy afternoon, while scrolling through her cracked phone screen during a break, Aisha stumbled upon a viral video. Billionaire tech mogul Reginald Hargrove, known for his eccentric challenges and ruthless business tactics, announced his latest stunt: "I've built the world's most secure safe. Inside? $100 million in cash and assets. Crack it open, and it's yours." Pros have tried and failed. Who's next? The comments sections exploded with laughter. As if anyone could touch Hargrove's tech. This is just PR for his new security company. Aisha's heart raced. She replayed the video, studying the safe's design from the blurry footage. It was a beast, layered with biometric scans, quantum-encrypted locks, and a dial that required a sequence no computer had cracked yet. Pros from around the world, hackers, locksmiths, even ex-military codebreakers, had flown in, only to walk away humiliated. Hargrove mocked them all on live streams: "Pathetic. Back to your day jobs." But Aisha saw something they didn't. Patterns. Hidden algorithms buried in the safe's public specs, which Hargrove had arrogantly shared to prove its invincibility. That night, as Jamal slept fitfully on their worn couch, Aisha sketched out her plan on scraps of napkin. "This could save us," she whispered to herself. But doubt crept in. Who was she? A poor black girl from the hood, no fancy degrees, no connections. The world would laugh her out of the room. Still, she submitted her entry anonymously through Hargrove's website, detailing a high-level approach without giving away her secrets. To her shock, a response came, intriguing. Come to New York. Prove it. The journey to New York was the first cliffhanger in Aisha's life, a test of will that nearly broke her. With no money for a plane ticket, she scraped together bus fare from tips and a GoFundMe she started in secret. Jamal begged her not to go. What if you don't come back? Like Dad? His words stabbed like knives. On the 20-hour bus ride, Aisha second-guessed everything. Staring out at the blurring highways, she clutched her notebook of calculations. What if she failed? What if Hargrove exposed her as a fraud? The bus hit a pothole, jolting her back to reality, and in that moment, she almost turned around. But then she remembered her mother's last words, "You're smarter than the world gives you credit for, baby. Don't let them dim your light." She pressed on, arriving in the city with nothing but her wits and a backpack. New York was a whirlwind of lights and indifference. Hargrove's skyscraper loomed like a giant, its lobby filled with suited executives who eyed Aisha suspiciously. "You here for the challenge?" a security guard sneered. "Kid, this ain't a game." She nodded, her voice steady despite the knot in her stomach. Up in the penthouse vault room, the pros gathered, middle-aged men with gadgets and egos. Hargrove, a silver-haired tycoon in a tailored suit, chuckled when he saw her. Well, well. Diversity quota filled, I suppose. You've got 10 minutes, girl. Impress me. The crowd murmured. Cameras rolled. Aisha approached the safe, her heart pounding like a drum. She tuned out the whispers, "She's just a token, this'll be quick." And focused. Her fingers danced over the dial, applying her unique insight. The safe's encryption wasn't random. It echoed patterns from Hargrove's own early patents, ones she'd unearthed in obscure online archives. Pros had brute-forced it with tech, but Aisha treated it like a story, a narrative with twists she could unravel intuitively. 3 minutes in, a subtle beep. The first layer unlocked. Gasps rippled through the room. Hargrove's smirk faltered. Beginner's luck. But Aisha pressed on, her mind racing through algorithms she'd memorized. 5 minutes, second layer down. The pros exchanged uneasy glances. "How is she doing this?" one muttered. 7 minutes, the biometric scan bypassed with a clever override she'd theorized. Sweat beaded on her forehead. The room fell silent, tension thick enough to cut. And then, at 8 minutes, disaster struck, the second cliffhanger that tested her soul. The safe's alarm blared, a failsafe triggered by what seemed like a miscalculation. Red lights flashed. Security rushed in. Hargrove laughed triumphantly. "See? Even the kid can't hack it. Show's over." Aisha froze, her world crumbling. Had she misread the patterns? Was this the end? The crowd jeered, phones capturing her failure. But in that chaos, Aisha spotted it, a deliberate trap in the design, meant to weed out the unworthy. Her mother's voice echoed, "Don't give up when it gets hard." With seconds left, she reset and twisted again. Click. The alarm silenced. The final lock gave way. The door creaked open, revealing stacks of cash, gold bars, and documents worth $100 million. But nestled among them was something unexpected, a folder labeled Project Phoenix. Inside were blueprints for affordable cancer treatments Hargrove had shelved years ago, deeming them unprofitable. Aisha's eyes widened. This wasn't just money, it was leverage. Hargrove's face drained of color. How did you? Flashback to Aisha's preparation, nights poring over Hargrove's history. He'd risen from nothing, but greed had corrupted him. His first invention? A medical device that could have saved lives like her mother's, but he buried it for profit. Aisha hadn't just cracked the safe, she'd cracked his facade. In minutes, What pros with millions in tech couldn't do, she did with sheer intellect and heart. The aftermath was electric. Media exploded, poor girl outsmarts billionaire. Hargrove, cornered, agreed to release Project Phoenix publicly. Aisha claimed the prize, but she didn't keep it all. Half went to cancer research in her mother's name. The rest? A new home for Jamal, scholarships, and a fund for kids like her, overlooked geniuses from the margins. But the real twist, the third cliffhanger that lingered long after, came when Hargrove pulled Aisha aside post-event. "You remind me of who I used to be," he admitted, voice cracking. "Before the money poisoned me." Was it genuine remorse, or a ploy? Aisha didn't know, but she walked away taller, knowing she'd not only won the money but exposed a truth: true strength comes from within, not wealth or status. Years later, Aisha stood on stages, sharing her story. "I was mocked, doubted, broken. But I rose because I believed in the impossible." Her message inspired millions. No matter your background, your mind can unlock any door. Persevere through the cliffs, and you'll find treasures beyond imagination. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of triumph against the odds. Thanks for watching. Continuing the story to extend length for video duration. Let's dive deeper into Aisha's childhood, because to understand her victory, you have to feel the weight of her struggles. Born in a cramped apartment where the walls seemed to close in every winter, Aisha learned early that survival was a puzzle. Her mother, Lena, was a force. Singing gospel hymns while scrubbing floors, always with a smile that hid the pain. "God gave you brains, Aisha. Use them to lift us up." But poverty gnawed at them. Meals were often rice and beans, clothes from thrift stores mended a dozen times. Jamal, with his wide eyes and endless questions, was Aisha's anchor. "Sis, why can't we have a big house like on TV?" he'd ask. "One day, little man. One day." School was a battlefield. In third grade, Aisha solved a math problem the teacher deemed too advanced, only to be accused of cheating. "Kids like you don't just know this," the teacher said, her words stinging like salt in a wound. Aisha cried that night, but it fueled her. She joined the library's after-school program, where an elderly librarian, Mrs. Patel, noticed her spark. "You're a codebreaker, child. Like Alan Turing." Mrs. Patel lent her books on enigmas, ciphers, even quantum computing basics. Aisha absorbed it all, practicing on old locks from junkyards, timing herself to beat her records. When Lena got sick, the real challenges mounted. Hospital visits meant skipping school, but Aisha studied by bedside light, decoding medical jargon to advocate for her mom. This treatment could work, she'd tell doctors, who dismissed her as just a kid. Lena's death at 42 was a void that swallowed Aisha whole. Grief turned to anger. At the system, at her absent father, at a world that let good people suffer. Jamal's grades slipped, he got into fights. "I miss Mom," he'd sob. Aisha held him, vowing to be both parents. Her job at the diner introduced her to the harsh realities of inequality. Customers tipped poorly, made racist remarks under their breath. One night, a wealthy patron left a puzzle magazine behind. Aisha solved it in breaks, emailing the publisher her solutions. They published one, earning her $50. Her first win. It sparked hope. Discovering Hargrove's challenge was serendipity. Researching him, Aisha uncovered his rags-to-riches tale. Orphaned young, he built an empire on security tech. But scandals whispered of cut corners, suppressed innovations. Aisha saw parallels, both orphans, both puzzle lovers. Maybe I can beat him at his own game. Preparing for the trip, Aisha faced micro-challenges. Packing meant choosing between her notebook or extra clothes. The bus ride was endless. Stops in dingy stations, fellow passengers sharing stories of hardship that mirrored hers. In Chicago, a delay due to engine trouble had her panicking. Would she miss the deadline? She fixed a minor issue with wiring knowledge from books, earning free snacks from the driver. Small victories built her resolve. Arriving in NYC, culture shock hit hard. Skyscrapers dwarfed her, people rushed by without eye contact. At the hotel Hargrove provided for contestants, a luxury she savored. She met the pros. 1. A grizzled hacker named Victor, scoffed, "Cute, kid. But this safe's quantum locked. Needs supercomputers." Aisha smiled politely, but inside, she knew, supercomputers brute force, humans intuit. The day of the challenge dawned crisp. Aisha dressed in her best thrift store outfit, nerves electric. In the vault, Hargrove's speech hyped the event, "Witness failure, folks." The pros went first, failing spectacularly. One blew a circuit, another triggered alarms. Laughter ensued. Aisha's turn. As she worked, flashbacks hit, Lena's encouragement, Jamal's hugs, Mrs. Patel's books. The first cliffhanger, the bus doubt, echoed, but she pushed through. The alarm blare was heart-stopping. Failure. Hargrove crowed. But Aisha's insight, it was a red herring, a psychological trap. Resetting, she unlocked it. Opening the safe, the Phoenix folder changed everything. Hargrove's suppressed tech could have saved her mom. Confronting him privately. "You buried this for money?" Tears in his eyes, "I lost my way." He funded its revival. Aisha's life transformed. She enrolled in MIT on scholarship, Jamal in a good school. She started a nonprofit for underrepresented STEM kids. Hargrove mentored her, redeeming himself somewhat. The inspiring message, barriers are illusions. Your background doesn't define your breakthroughs. Crack your own safes, whatever they may be. Extending further for duration. To flesh out the emotional layers, let's explore Aisha's inner turmoil during the challenge. As her fingers spun the dial, memories flooded. The day Lena was diagnosed, doctors' cold explanations she decoded alone. Metastatic, a word that haunted her. She channeled that pain into focus. The pros' mockery? It echoed schoolyard taunts, "You don't belong." But belonging wasn't given, it was taken. Post-victory, fame brought challenges. Paparazzi hounded her, skeptics claimed the safe was rigged. Aisha faced interviews, staying humble. "It's not about me, it's about proving anyone can." Jamal thrived, inspired by his sister. "You're my hero, sis." Hargrove's arc added depth. In follow-up meetings, he shared his story, losing parents young, building walls of wealth. "You cracked more than my safe, you cracked me." They collaborated on ethical tech. Years on, Aisha reflected, triumphs come from trials. Her message resonates. Embrace your uniqueness, face cliffs with courage, and unlock potentials. And that's the full tale. If it inspired you, like and subscribe for more.